you know when you're struggling with a piece of copy a little bit and you're trying to figure it out and it won't quite work for you. The idea doesn't quite gel, or you think it's good, but then you read it back the next day and you think this is bad. And you get that creeping sense of self-doubt that is common to all copywriters and pretty much all projects that creeps in at a certain moment. But then you see a piece of copy out there in the world that's been bought and paid for and put out by a real company that makes you feel so much better about your skills, based entirely on the fact that it is dreadful, like truly, truly dreadful copy. Nothing makes me feel good about my own copy like seeing some of the shit that gets put out by real companies.
If you enjoy The Fix and want to get access to even more good stuff, join the Fix Accelerator today. Get access to special masterclasses from Nick and me, watch expert interviews with industry legends, join live copy feedback sessions every week, and get connected to our very own private copy network. Visit thefixaccelerator.com for more information.
So we had a great example of this a couple of years ago when we did an advert that we saw on the tube, didn't we, at London Bridge? And
the Bitcoin one, the crypto one.
Well, the headline there was "Knock knock, who's there? Crypto." Well, I think I found one that's even better. Not in its sort of cack-handed sloganness, but just the most poorly conceived advert I think I've ever seen.
I think this is potentially worse on a moral level. And disclaimers to apologise to whichever team, because it wouldn't be one person, it would be a team that this is like fallen through. But that Bitcoin one, the crypto that said "knock knock, who's there, crypto," was just mindless. It was utterly mindless. Whereas this has been orchestrated. It's been put together. It's something that has been ticked off by more than one person. It's not. I can only assume that crypto one was the output of a madman. Whereas this has come through an agency or a business of something. It does not get to out of home advertising without quite a few people agreeing to this, and I think it thinks it's okay.
I just want to make one thing clear before we start. Glenn offered a disclaimer there towards the people that worked on this advert. I just want to make it clear that disclaimer is only valid from him. I disclaim nothing. I think if you worked on this in any way, shape, or form, you should be embarrassed and ashamed that you were part of something that's so poorly constructed. Now, this is my opinion. Your opinion might differ. However, I would suggest that people who worked on it know it's not very good. And I think it's incumbent on you as part of the team to say, guys, we can do better than this. No matter what your role is. When I was a junior copywriter, I looked back at some of my sort of annual review things, that I used to have to submit to the management. I remember looking back at them and they were always like, why do we do things like this? Why is that person doing that? This doesn't make any sense. Why? This isn't good enough. And maybe that's just my personality, but I think...
Yeah, your own end of year review, the notes, like the school report just goes, always a knobhead in meetings, always telling us that it's wrong. But no, you're right. I think it's my, A, I'm just a nice person, but B, I think it's because I've worked more with mucky, messy, too many stakeholders is the corporate term for it in that process. And I know what it's like where even if you went back and said, guys, what is going on here? They'd be like, shut up. This is how it's going on. So that's where, if the actual copywriter's like, oh shit, I was involved in that. It's like, yeah, I understand. That said, I would withdraw my own disclaimer should you come back to us and say, no, I think this is really good. I go, right, okay, well, gloves are off then. Let's have a party.
Or let's call them a taxi. Right. Yeah. Enough of we can waffle on about it afterwards, because I think lots of people have been in setups like you've just described, and it is a problem in the copy world. But just to start with, let me talk you through the advert. Okay. Now, I want to verbally walk everybody through this. Some people listen on Patreon, so they don't have the video. or the people be watching on YouTube will be able to bring the advert up on screen. Excuse me. But I think I should walk you through it first because I think it's important. So this is a Billboard advert. I saw it at Milton Keynes train station. I was on my way to London last week to go and watch the cricket with my dad. Lovely sunny day. Sat there with a coffee, waiting for my train, and I see this. And I thought, oh my God, what's happened here? So it's an advert for, I guess you would call them like Boris bike type things. You know, communal bikes that anybody can get, and you take them around the city. So in the top left-hand corner, the headline says, "Start your shopping with a cycle." Okay. Not 100% sure that makes any sense as a sentence, but let's we've started there. We'll move on. Below that,
started strong. We've started really strong.
Below that, there are two pictures. One is a girl on a bike, in case you don't know what a cycle is. And then next to that, there's another picture of her eating some cake. Someone's drawn a heart on that. Don't know why. And underneath that picture, it says, "End it with a slice of happiness." So the headline effectively reads in two different, slightly disjointed way, "Start your shopping with a cycle and end it with a slice of happiness." So this is an advert for cycles/cake. Underneath that, there's in a completely different font, there are just the words, "Download the Tia app and hire an e-bike today." Okay, that's probably the only part of this advert that actually makes sense. So you'd think, okay, that isn't a terrible advert. Why are you going in so hard on that? It's not a great advert. It doesn't really say anything, and it doesn't really advertise the thing that you're saying, that you're selling. But this is only kind of half of the ad. So on the other side of the page, so on the right-hand third of the page, there's, first of all, the top right-hand corner, there are just two logos. One is Santander. One says Tia. Different fonts, obviously. Just two logos.
As big. We'll put it up on the video so people can confirm. But effectively, the logo's as big as the headline, and also bigger than the call to action. So you can start to see where this is going. But,
So we're now, if you can't keep in count, we're now on 4 different fonts, by the way, because each logo is in its own font. The headlines are all in different fonts, different colors as well. Then underneath that, there's quite a big white gap. No real explanation for why that's there. And then just plonked in the middle of the page, in a different font again, at an angle, it just says, "That's win-winning." Not a hashtag, just those words. That's win-winning. And then
capitalized W and W.
Yes.
But a truncated word. So it's one word, win-winning. I can't say it.
Yeah. So that's...
Where does that start, though, Nick? That's what I want to know. Where does win-winning start?
Well, it's as the line says, and underneath that we have more copy, again in a different font, and this time in a different color as well. It just says, "It starts here." So we have to the side of a mediocre ad, we have another ad effectively that says, "That's win-winning. It starts here," which wouldn't even make sense. Doesn't make any sense, doesn't bear any relation either in terms of design, copy, style, font, color. It bears no relation to anything else that's going on the page. And then underneath that, again, I'll stress, another different font and different colors, it says, "Time to dodge the traffic and travel stress-free." So we've introduced the idea.
Full stop.
Yes.
Which is interesting because the call to action, "Download the Tier app today," is not full stop. No. "Start your shopping with a cycle, end of slice of happiness," no full stop. But then for that little bit there, they've decided we do need a full stop. I'm not sure why. This is a copywriting discussion, but on a design level, just to clarify, we will show it for people. But to be fair, because we're about to not be 100% fair on this ad, but when Nick's saying the different fonts, I would say there are 2 fonts here, which is technically, so you've got a handwritten font, which the main headlines are in, and the "It start here," and then I can tell that all of the other copy is in the same font, but it's at different boldnesses and sizes,
colors,
and colors, which makes it a bit weird. The whole thing as well, just from a design point of view, has got we use it in our Fix Fest posters when it makes it look like a pasted poster, and I can't decide if that's been a decision here or whether it's just a really badly pasted poster on a tube. My gut feeling is, I think if I saw this and I was the marketing team and I saw all of that pasting done so shoddily, I would complain to whoever put it up. So my gut feeling is they've made the whole thing look like it's an authentic poster that's been put up, which is another level of madness that isn't in tone with whatever That's Winning as a campaign is, whichever this cycle, like, it's meant to be like kind of two Polaroids almost, but like why would you have anyway? So it's just from a design point of view, it's a barrel of arse.
Yes, I was going to say it's abhorrent as a piece of creative work. Okay, let's not.
But let's look at the copy and let's look at why properly it's nonsense.
Yeah, can I just also point out that for some reason that last line of copy, which was another new idea, by the way, time to dodge the traffic and travel stress-free, that's right aligned, I think. The left-hand font is not aligned properly, but the right is. None of the copy above is like that, so I don't quite know why. And by the way, I'm not a pedant, generally speaking, when it comes to punctuation and design. Like, I tend to just let the designers do it, and I don't look too carefully. But this was such a strangely put together ad that but there are so many competing elements thrown at the page, just plonked on the page. Like one ad on one side, a load of others. I wouldn't even say another ad on the other side, just a load of other stuff just plonked on the right-hand side. You start looking closely, think, why does that have a full stop at the end? And that doesn't. Like, all of the decisions start to compound up when you're analyzing it. And I'm analyzing it as a creative, not as a customer.
True, but I would also say I always talk about the idea of looking through a copy like going through a driving test. And we can, because of the nature of our jobs in our capacity as copywriting teachers or tutors or whatever, we often, I always think, oh God, we're telling someone to change this tiny, apparently meaningless thing. But it's like small marks. It's like minors on a driving test. And if you hit too many of them, someone gives up and you get a fail. And that is how people read this stuff. They might skip over the odd error and you give them that. But if you keep having errors, once they become to that cumulative thing where it's like, oh, actually, what the hell are they doing? Actually, I've lost it now. Then that unlocks everything. And so people do receive information in that kind of piecemeal way where they go, okay, that's an objection, but I'll allow you that one. And they might allow you a second. By the third, you're out of, you're on the train and you've gone. Nothing is in your mind about this advert, like for specifically where it is. It's on a tube track kind of thing. But yeah, so it's important that reverse engineering that thought. It is important to look at the little details because added up, you want to eliminate as many small mistakes as possible so that the whole is more coherent.
So, Glenn, I'm just going to keep talking about this, but I suggest, can you bring it up on screen now? So anyone who's watching on YouTube, if you're listening on Patreon or Spotify, get the YouTube version. You can take a look. So what I would say is wrong with this, apart from the fact that it's all terrible. So you could analyze each individual element and say, well, why have you done it like that? But I don't think that's fair to say, well, it's bad for that reason, because that's true of lots of adverts. So maybe, okay, for whatever reason, we want to make an advert about the fact that you could ride a bike and then go and get a slice of cake. I don't get it, but that's not what makes it a bad advert. What makes it bad is that it appears to have been put together by people that have never met each other, never mind spoken to each other, because it shows that really common thing that we see a lot, particularly with new copywriters. So the fact that this has gone out there into the world with this number of errors really, like I said at the start, should make you feel good about yourself. It should make you think, Jesus, someone got paid to do this. Someone probably got paid quite a lot of money to put this out into the world. So you look at your own drafts and think, Jesus, I'm not doing ever so bad. If this sort of tripe could end up out there in the world, somebody paid for this. Somebody
paid a lot of money for this.
That person,
a lot of money in the production and creation and display of this advert?
So the real problem to me is not necessarily the main idea, which could be stronger, of course. It's that for whatever reason, the people who've directed the ad have chucked a load of other shit at it as well, rather than committing to the idea, which is something we talk about a lot. Find your idea, commit to it 100%. And if that doesn't work, that's okay. We can't ever know if our advert works, but you will never make something stronger by just adding more elements at it. So if the best idea you can come up with is start your shopping with a cycle and end it with a slice of happiness, i.e. maybe there's some attempt to make a point that by cycling to the shops, you burn some calories and then you can enjoy a cake. But it's an e-bike, so that's not true. But maybe that's the idea. Glenn, I'll let you jump in a second. If that's your idea, adding the words, that's win-winning, it starts here. Time to dodge the traffic and travel stress-free. By the way, dodging traffic is not stress-free, just as a side point. That's really stressful. Dodging traffic on a bike. Mental, absolutely absurd. Adding those 3 extra lines plus 2 logos in the top and just sort of designating the right-hand side of your advert to all the shit that you just wanted to throw at it is what makes it a bad advert.
Just as a quick aside, before I make my point, and just we'll come to something because I think it's important, but just a quick aside. Can you remember when you and we lived in Putney together and, in the area together in different houses? But we cycled to work once where we worked in the sea containers area in like Southwark, and we cycled all the way from Putney along the Thames. We got to Westminster, and I was a lot unfitter at these times. I mean, I'd still not be able to keep up with you, but I was a lot unfit. We got to Westminster, and there's that notorious square where it's like taxis, bikes, everything going crazy, Parliament Square. And we were at the front. Behind us is like a peloton of real commuters on bikes. Then there's like real commuters. Then there's taxis. And I can remember us steaming across there, screaming as with all this stuff behind us. And then I looked back and you weren't there. Or it might have been you looked back and I wasn't there.
You were quite gung-ho.
Yeah, I'd gone because I was just like, fear of God in me, like, get across this road. Turned round, looked, you weren't there. So I carried on going to work. Got there, everybody's going, where's Nick? Going, he could be dead. It wasn't for all I know. It was not a stress-free experience. Anyway, one thing to point out with this, because I would hazard a guess, I think I'm right, is that what's going on here is we are trying to advertise ultimately the tier app, which is done in partnership with Santander Cycles. So I think that's worth knowing. I would say what's gone on here is that the agency involved have created a concept around the idea of win-winning. And they've now attached themselves to this idea that with Santander/tier cycles and hiring these things, you can win-win. Everything you do is win-win. So they've invented that's win-winning. And for some reason, it starts here. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt that that's the idea. What they've then done is they've tasked someone with going through numerous experiences of hiring that bike and pointing out when you are win-winning. And if you're not watching, I am doing air quotes. And they've said one win is that you get to start your shopping with a cycle, and that the second win, the win is one, and then the second winning is to end it with a slice of happiness. I would guess that out there in London, wasting money all over the beautiful city right now, are a number of adverts like this, with start your shopping with a cycle, end it with a slice of happiness, replaced with other examples of win-winning. And that, what's really happening there, we'll get to the call to action, the thing, but what that really is evidence of is the absolute, I would maybe say, arrogance of above the line advertising and all of that stuff, to think that your win-winning phrase is such a strong idea that if you give evidence of it in like, look, start with shopping with a cycle and ends in happiness, it's so obviously win-winning that you then go, right, evidence that as many times as we can. again, what you're doing is not amplifying the idea of win-winning. You're actually just adding these other weird ideas that are a bit, I was going to swear quite badly there, but a bit random and a bit, I don't make the connection. And also, you're so far down now because what you're doing is you're using your headline and lead, like your headline and your imagery, the bike, the start of the shopping, to justify as proof of your actual idea, which is win-winning. And you are now so far away from the fact that hiring a Santander cycle / the tier app is a thing to do. You're so far removed from that, you couldn't give us the stuff. If you manage to work out that doing your shopping and getting a cake at the end is win-winning, you're gone. You're on the train. You've walked away. You've done something else. It's irrelevant to you anymore. So that's kind of why it's ended up like this. Then it's like, oh, desperate shit, we need to download the app on. Oh yeah, it's time to dodge the traffic, and that's probably the lead to the win-winning idea. So what I'm kind of saying is I know how that will have been created, and I can see the thinking behind it. The thinking is wrong, and I actually think philosophically it evidences that thing when agencies are trying to advertise their own idea. Like, it's almost like, oh, that's win-winning. You can imagine the Don Draper going, right, people, we've realized that with Tier, with the app, you're always winning. You got your cycling, you're getting exercise, you get a cake, you're getting your bike downloaded, you've got it on, you can download it. So it's all this, it's win-winning. You're win-winning. It's like blah, blah. And it's like, all right, like, I think that's all that.
So I think you're probably right in your analysis. We probably get rid of this now. This advert. Get that off the screen. Get that out of my sight.
It's in my eyes.
Get that dog out of my sight. Maybe that's true. I could see the logic. However, I mean, the whole process seems wrong. And
yeah, by the way, I'm just pointing it out because I think anybody would see that and go, oh no, that's what that, and it's like, okay, fine, I get that. I still think it's crap.
Yes.
Like, it still is crap.
What that does, right, is it puts at the heart of your process a corporate slogan, i.e., we've got this thing, win-winning. So everything now has to be worked out around that. Now, anybody that understands marketing and advertising and copywriting, so the people that will put this ad together, whoever was involved, should know there are only really two things that you need to think about when you're conceiving an advert, which is the product that you have to sell and the prospect that you're selling it to or communicating to. You might not be selling it. And if you don't start there, if you start with a slogan, everything is wrong from then on. Everything is wrong. It's a little bit like, I suppose you would call it like Copernican way of looking at the world versus Ptolemaic, where it's like, if you start by saying that Earth is the center of the universe, and then from there, you try and make everything make sense, things might make sense to you, but your starting point was so wrong that it won't add up. It won't make sense. As a totality, it won't work. So if you start with, we need to do win-winning, nobody wakes up in the morning and thinks, what I want today is I don't want to win just once. I want to win twice. It's not a desire. It doesn't speak to a human being about things that they care about. Cycling, by the way, nobody says start your day with a cycle. You start with a bike ride, wouldn't you? You never say the word cycle. Anyway, whatever. If I said to you, would you fancy a cycle? Like, you'd be like, a cycle of like a hormone cycle?
There's washing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Should we cycle? I suppose you might say that. If you start with win-winning and then work back from there, you're screwed from the outset. So what this actually needed, and I'll judge it based on your analysis, I'll say that maybe that's why it happened like that. It needed stronger creative leadership for somebody to go, that is not the way you create an advert. That's not how it works. Now, I understand that in the world of agencies, perhaps your job isn't to say that to your client because then they won't work with you. Well, what have you ended up with? Piece of shit. You know what I mean? That's what you've ended up with. Utter garbage. Do you know what I mean? It really annoys me because I think if you can't take pride in a job well done, what is the point in life? You need to do things properly, at least try to do it properly. So I think that conversation needed to be had earlier in the process. That's not how we can do a great advert. Because if you start there, you're screwed. Probably it has started there, and then we've got this kind of weak advert about, okay, even though it's an app for a bike hiring service, we'll give equal prominence to the fact that you get cake at the end of it. Which we
also, just on a purely like quite banal, but it would still be bad, and I want to point this out. But even in the logic of that, if you said, look, we need to have that's win-winning, like that's the place to be. We want to do examples of that leads back to that. You could even given, if I was forced to reorganize what we have here, you could have predominant, the headline, start your shopping with a cycle, end it with a slice of happiness. Start win-winning today by downloading the new tier app that lets you take out the stress of bike riding. Kind of, there is still, even in that kind of, in the expression of this mismatch of ideas, there is still more direct and more appropriate and better ways to communicate that to people. I was just trying to find out if I could figure out who was actually behind this. It looks like it might be an in-house marketing thing. There's a lot of talk about like the actual cycling thing online and all this kind of stuff. Again, evidencing so much money going into this, yet this is the tosh that normal people have to see each day, and we wonder why people hate advertising. It's meaningless. It's crap. It's literally been like mangled together because
mangled is the word. Because like, I think the thing that jumped out at me, and I know that we're just going into footed on this, so to speak, but
as a right to reply, like whoever's behind this has a right to reply. Also, I will offer us our services for free. We will write you a better advert, and you can split test them in some way, and we'll see what happens.
Presumably, this took, let's say this took 3 months. I think you could do a better advert in 3 minutes than this.
Probably.
Anyway, one of the things that really jumped out at me, now, like I said, I'm not really a design person. You know, I know good design when I see it, but I can't do it at all. I just try and work with good people. So like all of the stuff that we do for the fix is people often compliment us on the design work, which is the one thing we don't do. But we kind of just found a great designer and said, this is the spirit of it, and you crack on. You're the expert. You can see in the design of this advert, because it's just so stark. You have one idea taking up 2/3 on the left, and then 1/3 on the right, just some other stuff, just a white space and some other stuff that's been plonked there. You can see the scrambled thinking in the composition of the ad, because it's like, it's not even had all those elements knitted together into, say, a paragraph or something like Glenn just like, okay, if we have to say all these things, let's at least say it in a sentence. It's just like, no, we'll say that over there, and then over here, we'll just do a sort of shopping list of the other stuff we couldn't fit in. But I'll tell you what, we'll just change the fonts around a little bit and make it look odd. It's like, you can see that there's no clear vision there. There's no, and the shame is with things like this, effectively saying download the Tide app and you can cycle to the, you can cycle into town in 2 minutes from the train station or whatever. That's probably of interest to somebody that arrives at the train station. You don't need to get a taxi. By the way, Milton Keynes is a brilliant place to cycle. Brilliant. You never need to go on the roads. So I don't know why you'd say dodge the traffic, because you don't need to. So the idea that you arrive at Milton Keynes, and you'll never hear me defending Milton Keynes because it's not necessarily my favorite place in the world. But you arrive there and you say, oh, if I download the app and get one of those bikes, if I get one of those bikes, I can be in town in 5 minutes and I don't need to get any public transport. That's of interest to me. That's a benefit. You might even say it's win-winning. Save money on taxi fare and you have a pint when you get there or whatever it was. Like, it can be drawn together, but you have to start with like the person who gets off the train who might be interested in the product. You can't not start there. If you start with something else, it's like, dreadful. It's like adverts that clearly have to have the founder of the company's face on the advert. It's like, that's the thing. This has got a Boris Johnson on it. That's our starting idea. I mean, Christ, it's going to be hard to sell this.
I think, why are we doing this? Because it points out in real life where copy is going bad. But at the same time, and I'm sorry to just keep going on about how bad these things are, but Santander Cycles, the tier app, what planet do you think that's win-winning is going to become the equivalent of like Every Little Helps by Tesco's, or I'm trying to think of another one that would be easy thing. That's the intention there. Like, make no doubt about that. You are trying to claim a phrase. That's win-winning. So when I see that's win-winning, I've hired a cycle app. I would love, I mean, we will probably do this now, when I visit you in Milton Keynes, Nick, and we go and hire a bike, and I go, oh, Nick, that's win-winning. That's never going to happen. No one ever is going to say that as a thing. Even if you paid for that to be on every channel all day long, no one's going to go, that's win-winning. It's pointless.
Because the second win is a made-up thing. So if your product if it was like a referral campaign where you get a benefit, and by sharing it with somebody else, they get a benefit, you can say, we both say 10 quid, that's win-winning, right? That's inherent in the offer. There is no second win here. The win is you get a bike. That's a win. That's a good benefit, right? The second win is tacked on. It's some cake. So you could do another version of it. It's like, start your day with a lovely bike ride, ... and finish it with a big armful of smack. The second thing is just made up. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
What smack's made up? No, I've lost my train of thought there. But that's the naturally in this mad ramble about this mad advert. But this is the other thing I was thinking of. I had a conversation yesterday with a copywriter at a big bank, like mainstream thing, has adverts like this out in the world. Not like this, but like Billboard ads and everything. Not like no one has this. Yeah. But we were talking about what the point of difference of that bank was. We were like having a discussion about that. And it's one of the biggest discussions you'll have about any product, finding the unique elements, the USP, if you want to call it that, the point of difference, whatever you want to call it. The point of difference for Santander Cycles and the tier app is not being able to go to the shops on your bike and have a cake.
No.
Like, I can do that now.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't. I give my bike away as soon as I move to Sheffield because it's too hilly. But in principle, if I had a bike, I can go shop. I could start my shopping with a bike, and I can buy a cake at the end of it. Like, it's just irrelevant to me. It's irrelevant to the app. It doesn't tell me that it's easier. It doesn't make me feel that downloading the tier app's going to be better. Like, there are countless other much more interesting benefits of these hireable cycles, like the fact that you can do it on an app, all of that stuff. I was in Oslo most recently and got I think it was Lime, is probably a competitor to them. Yeah. And we got the thing, and they were e-powered bikes or electric powered bikes or whatever. So we're going up hills, like just going, and I was like, wow, this is great. All of that stuff, like, we got to see much more of Oslo because we had those bikes. Did we finish it with a cake?
Yes, 21 win.
But yeah, but you can see where it's like even that it's piffery. It's like it's someone sat there, and you may as well ask AI to do this, because what they've done is go, AI, ChatGPT, give me 10 examples of 2 things you can do if you hire a bike. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That's as base level copywriting as we are on this.
And get into a fight.
It could say, start your shopping, like start your rampage of death with a cycle and end it with a cake. It just doesn't relate to the point of difference of the product that you're selling, which has loads of points of difference. It's really handy. It's on your app. It's all this kind of stuff. You can get around town. You can explore Milton Keynes beyond your wildest dreams. All of that stuff. But no, we've gone with starting with the shopping. Your shopping, I'm not even going to get into the misogynistic element of a woman starting her day shopping and having a cake and all of that crap. It's just absolute piffery. It's meaningless.
So let's wrap this up. Because I think we can be sure that by now anyone that perhaps was involved in the making of this advert
will hate us.
Yeah, they're on e-bikes looking for me.
Yeah, just running over the just sending terrible spam emails to
We can start our rampage of death with
them and finish it with a cake. I'm actually going to. I don't want a cake. I want like something that's not win-winning enough for me. Yeah. It's not win-winning enough.
Right. Anyway, those people aren't listening, and to be honest, they've shamed themselves. So probably they're in the.
They also don't care, just to point out, because they're making more money. Like they're making loads of money. Like it's fine. Like everybody wins. Everybody's win-winning.
It's the mugs down at Santander that need to be watching this. God bless them. From a copywriting point of view, the real reason I wanted to do this was one, because I thought it was hilariously bad. So I just wanted to talk about it. But I do think, just from a sort of soulful level, in terms of how you cope in an industry like this as a copywriter, maybe you're freelance, maybe you're in-house, we all have doubts, and we all have those moments where you read your copy back and you think, it's not quite right, or we think it's great and then it flops or whatever. Sometimes, I said this on stage at Fix Fest, just go out into the world and look at some of the stuff that's out there that's been bought and paid for. Look at how low the standard actually is. Yes, there are fantastic adverts out there in the world. There are brilliant above the line adverts. There are brilliant financial adverts in the industry that I work in. But actually, those are far beyond the average. And the average ad is pretty poor. And that should make you feel good. Because the same point I made at Fix Fest about AI, you don't need to worry about being better than AI at copywriting. You just need to be better than 90% of human copywriters. Just be better than them and worry about the rest later. And on the evidence of some of the stuff you see out there in the world, billboards, on the TV, whatever, it's not actually that hard. It's not, on this evidence, most junior copywriters could create a better advert. I could design a better advert myself probably in Paint. It would make more coherent sense on the page. So
I'm going to throw doubt on that particular.
No, that was too far. Of all the things I've said today, that was too far.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
Too far.
You can do that. You could.
I could. Yeah.
But it should make you feel good, and that I do want the overall message to be positive, which is okay. Whatever, there'll be reasons why that advert was bad, but it can just give you that bit of confidence. It's like, you know what? I'm not out there I'm not standing amidst giants of the industry. I'm standing, and my competition is people that know less than I do probably, and are probably fraught with the same sorts of self-doubts.
Even maybe a little bit too tenuous. I might not be able to round it off this way, but even the copywriters, and I'll say the copywriters, if there were if such exist, those who would call themselves copywriters and were involved in this, even the copywriters who wrote this and did what they could, start your shopping with a cycle, end it with a slice of, they've been tasked as little more than AI bots to come up with a couple of refrains like that. That bit in itself, yeah, that's fine. That's okay. But even if you there sat there going, oh God, I was involved in that, I did that. It actually, what we're really rallying against here is the overarching corruption of the many layered, many stakeholdered, many politically based, like boardroom negotiations that are restricting you as a copywriter. But you can, as almost you can reverse engineer it, is the way we've actually broken this down and slightly, what's it called when you rinse something off these days? It's there's a cult list, like someone spikes someone, or what's it called? Like
when you do what to someone?
Roast. It's a roasting.
We've
roasted the advert. I'm showing my age, but no, we've roasted it. But the fact that can then be done, do not think we are special and that we are the only ones who are thinking this. That is what people are seeing. Actually, even less so. They don't care. They just look and go, crap, moving on. But you can see that actually, if you go, actually, guys, could we maybe talk about how we can do this? You now have at least some idea of how you can start to not fight back. You don't need to be that dramatic, but you can just start kind of just pushing back a little, going, oh, that kind of limits me on that if I do that, and I need to try and think about this. What if we did this? What if we did that? And it comes back. it comes back to the idea. I realized I was doing talk recently, and someone asked me how, literally almost you could imagine it in this situation, how do I go back to people, a bad client who won't let me write properly, won't let me do what I say? And it was a great question, a tough question, but I said, it all starts with actually the relationships early on. There's a much bigger piece here, but you want to, as soon as possible, get to the point where you've got to get everyone involved in that what if frame of mind. What if it looked like this? What if it said that? What if it said that? Because that forces people to go, but what if it looked like this? And they go, oh yeah, that would be good. No one would say, what if it had this here, this here, this here, this here, this here. It would be insane. No one would say, what if it looked like that? This is a monster Frankenstein that's come together through numerous people. So I guess I'm just trying to say, those involved from a copywriting perspective, I get what you're working with, but this at least gives you some kind of pushback on, like, this is...
You're such a nice guy. You're really demonstrating a nice guy, because I'm going to give you the harder version of this. Okay, fine. That's true to a certain extent. However, if you're in a situation creatively where you're constrained by these things, clients, culture, whatever, you have two choices. Either create shit work within the confines of that setup, or try to push against those things. I don't mean argue and fight, because that's not going to work either. But, well, it might work. But if you don't do something to push back and change that, you are dooming yourself to bad work. And that's a form of sort of creative death to me. You're sort of saying, well, it's going to be crap forever then. Okay, fine. Great, have a good life.
But if you do push back a little bit as well, you will be seen as someone who is creating ideas, who is engaged. And you know what, Nick?
What?
That's winning.
Yeah.
Now, if you can't see the video of this, I've managed to get a little banner at the bottom that says that's winning. And I'm trying to do my best for the group here. But
look, I'm going to give you a final point, which is, if you're going to have to push back against something and rally against something, you are a copywriter. You're an expert in communication, creativity, persuasion to a certain extent. So use those skills to make your case. It's see it as a copywriting task. But if you don't grasp that nettle, if you don't try, you are dooming yourself. So don't then, I think you have to fight the good fight on behalf of good work. And if you don't, then you're not fighting the good fight on behalf of good work. You're doing something else, aren't you? So that's fine. But like, that's how I would see it. That, sometimes you have to make that case. Anyway, this is getting very philosophical when it was supposed to be kind of like, I think, but actually maybe some of the things that we feel like, oh, that was quite close to life, maybe that actually gets you closer to the heart of some of these issues, which, the tensions at the heart of the industry. Anyhow, what a win-win for copywriters. They've heard us roast copy and talk spiritually about fighting the good fight, whatever that means.
I've been listening to, I assume you have as well, the King Henry V Battle of Agincourt on Restless History. I was just imagining you then talking about fighting the good fight. I imagine you on your grey horse with your crown running and going, no, I will do this. I will defeat. I will do the thing.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I probably wouldn't have been brave enough to do that. But I have been brave enough to fight against institutional, situations like that. And it always goes better than you think. People always have more respect for you for standing up for it than they do for
we get the most positive feedback and we get asked very often, and we tend to ignore it because we don't like to be too hard, but to roast other adverts. And it just shows that there is so much stuff out there, and so there is so much frustration with how it's there. So yeah, but anyway, on that note, I think we've won.
We have win-win. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you next week, and in the meantime, keep winning.
That's all for this episode. But if you'd like to get your copy reviewed, or you've seen some copy you want Nick and Glenn's opinion on, get in touch at feedback@thefixcopywriting.com. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and share.